Hello, everyone, and welcome to Be a Better Game Master, and welcome to Chapter 4 of the Jade Gavel campaign, Saplings of the Crane. If you're not caught up and not interested in spoilers, you can find the original trilogy over at Matt's channel, A Fistful of Dice, down in the show notes, and start there. But if you like to jump in and just kind of ride the wave as it comes, this is for you as well. So we're going to get started right now. The occasional lapping wave is all the sound the ocean can muster. The sun is yet to rise, and in this twilight, Rokugan is but a slender line on the western horizon. But still there you see it, the silhouette of the empty-sailed ship against the backdrop of a purple night. It lies silently anchored here in deep water, and you know what resides inside. Your target. Some pirate, you've been told, in need of a dishonorable death. The perfect job for the likes of you. Lloyd, tell me how you and your crew of assassins are approaching this ship in Silent Night.
So the standard approach would be to come by land, but that would be predictable. And so we have made our way into the water silently, and we'll be approaching from underneath the ship, climbing over the side silently. We have blowguns to breathe under water as we go.
Everyone, please roll a, it's not athletics in this game, it's fitness. Roll fitness with a target number of 1, since you're all skilled assassins swimming underneath the ship, trying to emerge from the other side. Air works, ironically, actually, as the ring if you want to roll. I say ironically since you're underwater. You come up without any distinct effort, emerging from the water without a sound. You're on the starboard side of the ship now. You see that there's a rope hanging from the top of the ship down into the water where presumably the anchor is tied. You also know that you have your grappling irons that you can use to climb up the wooden side of the ship. Jeremy, which way are you going to take?
So I think this black shadow comes up with one of the waves, and the rest of the waves kind of go back downward around it, except one. One stays up, and it's the head of this individual wrapped in black, soaking garments. He's using these bands of metal that strap to the palms of his hands that have these small downward pointed spikes as he very carefully puts them into the soft, waterlogged wood of the ship and begins to climb the side.
A wave emerges from the water, becoming a leech upon the side of this sloop, slowly climbing one hand after the other. The water dripping below, you begin to hear sounds up on the deck. Couple people talking. Nothing you can discern from here. Make a Nothing. Matt, how do you board the ship?
I actually come up out of the water just barely, leaving my this blowgun to breathe, and I'm actually covering them as they climb the ship. If they are accosted before they crest the top of this sailing ship, I'm going to use my blowgun to silence any attackers that reach them before they can alarm anybody.
Perfect. And you see this, Taylor, or rather the character that you're portraying. You see your companion ready to fire and take out any threats. How do you board the ship?
With as little noise as a cloud crossing the moon, this figure goes to the rope of the anchor. Gloves which are roughened and not dissimilar to her companions grip easily on the rope, and she climbs up it, feet pressed against the side of the ship.
The invasion of the sloop is beginning. And lastly, Lloyd, your assassin. After emerging from the water, how do you get onto the ship?
He will follow and wait for one of the others to like place down a hand. They've like organized this in advance, the order that they would get on the ship. And so he would like get to the point and like come up and exhale before he would sense more than see the hand and grab at the wrist, and together he would press his legs against the side of the ship silently until they can come over the lip.
Great. Everybody roll skullduggery check. If you don't have any ranks in skullduggery on your character sheet, assume that you have at least one. The night is quiet, but you hear a "Oh, sake, this early. Shh, Captain won't know." The first to reach the lip of the ship, Jeremy, your assassin. And you can do so in such a way where you can see you're right there, right next to these two pirates, standing there, joking, sharing drink, not doing their job.
With practiced motion, he scans the area through this small knothole where he's watching this without peeking out over the gunwale. He observes where their light source is placed and finds the shadow that is cast by a part of this mast and some of these crates. He maneuvers himself so that he can come up and over the banister and drop directly into the shadow of these things on the deck.
You do so. Next, as Jeremy, that's the name of your assassin. I probably should have given you all names. It just is consumed by the shadow of the ship. These two are none the wiser. Taylor, you're next. You approach on the opposite side of the two pirates via the rope. What do you do?
Are their backs to me?
Yes, sure. You can go ahead and describe that to me.
Yeah, if their backs are to me, and these are the only two that I see, I'll come to the top of the railing, crouching lightly, feet and hands down, and then move along the edge of it until I can reach some rigging and get myself into the high ground.
You do so. I imagine you're maybe climbing a mast or up one of the ropes upon one of the sails or along the wall of the ship.
Yes, I think so.
You're almost all in position. The third of four is Assassin Collins is going to emerge over the lip of the ship here at the end.
So as he's climbing over the lip, he will like hold his blowgun directly downwards so that it can trickle into the water, anything that might have gathered there, and then gives it a shake that sends some splashes and ripples out into the waves before he like reaches into a pocket and places a single dart into it and prepares.
And Matt, you're waiting with the blowgun as well. Was that the case?
I would actually probably follow behind Lloyd's character. Sort of as soon as everyone is up over the lip, he would kind of reach back and pull me up as the last person to sort of like cover their ascent into the ship. So I'm standing right behind him and do a similar maneuver with my blowgun, shaking the excess moisture out and preparing to use it if need be, staying low, crouching in the shadows.
Perfect. These two, one of them turns as if they heard some sort of splashing noise, and the other says, come on, did you hear me? How much money you got on you right now? I'm not going to lose any more to you again, Caillou. Come on. Hurry before the sun rises. You see near the back of the ship is a hatch, open hatch. There's a ladder heading down, and you might see, I think you'll definitely see there's a person sitting there, their feet dangling in the hatch, looking at something, counting something, holding some sort of pouch and counting. But you know now that your whole crew is in position. So I'll go back to the leader. Initiate it, fake MITSUKAGE.
So he'll like get into position and silently take a breath in, just like a half breath. And then when he realizes that everyone is in position, he will fire.
Go ahead and give me a roll. Target number is 2. These enemies are going to be treated as basically one hits. So if you succeed in the attack, you can describe dispatching them.
Yeah, many successes. Yeah, so he takes that deep breath and then like a second later, barely even makes a sound. You could think it was like a fly or something or a gnat. And it catches this man like perfectly in the shoulder. And he like immediately, like half a second later, begins to like as if he's like slurring and drunk, and then a second later like thuds down onto the deck of the ship.
The second man says, begins to almost yell out, but right behind him is Jeremy, your assassin. What do you do?
The shadow of these crates kind of melts away and becomes an individual as very quickly this dark-clad individual slips forward and pulls a garrote around this man's neck, tightening it until his face starts to turn the color of the dawn sky, and just stands there waiting, and then very, very carefully, once he has expired, lowers him quietly to the ground.
You set him down there on the deck of the ship. Taylor, you see that your companions are successful. And now you see that the person sitting at the hatch is still none the wiser. They ignite what looks to be a pipe or smoke of some variety, just sitting there, and they begin whistling a tune.
She very carefully and meticulously drops a single coin. It clatters to the deck. She knows no pirate can resist the sound of money. And when he comes to investigate, it's 2 successes and 2 opportunities to strike at him with a blowgun from her position up in the rigging.
He reaches down for the coin, looks at it, looks upward, and takes the blowgun right to the head. He falls backward, stumbling first, drops his pipe, drops the smoke, ash and ember everywhere. He drops the coin and he falls back into the hatch, falling down the ladder, crush right down into the perhaps the quarters below a small hall, and you hear sounds. You hear people. What? No! Kaya! Kaya! Get up there! Who's there? And then another voice responds, I'll get them. And he starts climbing the ladder. You see Matt as this one pirate ascending the ladder, shoves his friend's body aside where it's kind of stuck at the bottom of the ladder. He climbs up all the way to the top, and as soon as he peers over the top, you can make your move.
As soon as the 2 on the deck are dispatched, I'm already tucking my my blowgun away, and from the folds of my armor, I'm pulling out this weapon. It's sort of a curved scythe blade with a weighted ball attached with a chain. And I pull this weapon out. The iron of it, the steel, is covered in soot so that it doesn't shine, it doesn't gleam at all. And I pull this weapon out and let the chain just kind of slide loose in my hand. And I position myself next to the stairs, the ladder that lead down to the lower decks. And as soon as this guy comes up, I wrap the chain around his neck and lift him up out of the ladder, sort of giving him a help up onto the deck. And as soon as he's up there, I'm going to try and drag the blade of the kama across his throat. Please
describe to me what that does to this person. After you, of course, please succeed also.
Okay, so you said it was a TN2?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I got 2 successes and 1 strife. So I imagine that it is not a clean kill with that strife. I sort of lift him up off the ladder, and he sort of reaches for it, and I drag the kama across his throat and take a few of his fingers with it as he's sort of clutching at his throat. And at this point, it's pretty clear that they're under attack. And so rather than do what I normally would do, which was slowly let him fall to the deck, I sort of kick him off of me and begin spinning the weighted ball and sort of position myself next to the door, waiting for more to come up on the deck.
You kick him off of you, and he flies against the edge of the ship and tumbles over with a splash, dead. You hear down the ladder a scuffling, kind of a shuffling sound, and the shutting of a paper door. The final member on the ship. Jeremy, if you can think of another entrance into the downstairs that makes sense, feel free to go ahead and narrate it, and I'll toss it. I'll toss it to you.
So I think this is a ship that has some ability to load cargo into the lower deck. So there's an opening in the deck to kind of access that cargo hold. It's not a large one, but it's probably 5 by 5 or so. This character has moved over there, lifted the edge of this grating, and has placed a coil of rope under it to keep it open. And he is sliding through that portion, that small opening on his belly head first.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, you find yourself into the belly of the ship, and give me a roll. Maybe it could be a medicine roll. It could be some sort of it smells very pungent in here, and I want to see if you can discern what you're smelling. Maybe fish. I think medicine, or medicine or skullduggery.
Okay, so the die I had continued to explode, so that is 7 successes.
You know the smell of this strange powder substance that fuels fire, and it surrounds you. You also see in the distance of this cargo hold that there is another ladder going upward near the back. Lloyd, it's nearly a successful mission. One of many that you've raveled under your belt. What do you do?
The exit strategy has always been the speciality of this particular assassin, and it's generally considered to be leave no witnesses. He like reaches into another pouch and pulls out this powder he got in the burning sands some years ago. It's like this black, almost liquid, viscous, but it's technically a powder. He like pulls it out with those special gloves, and he like smears it on like across the deck and then onto the mast. And then he like makes a bird whistle and makes his way to throw a match and leap into the water.
You hear the sound, Taylor. You know what that means. You have a few short seconds before the ship ignites, and perhaps 20 more seconds after that when it is a scorching inferno. You know that one other person resides on the ship down below, but it's entirely possible that the flames will end up getting him.
And we haven't seen that person yet.
Nope, only heard them, and heard them shut a door downstairs.
So I think she will move cat-like across the rigging to the far end of the ship, searching for any small, and I'm totally feeling lifeboat, but the better word for it, that might be used as an alternate escape.
Sure, I think there would be a small craft along one side of the ship, I think, if that's what you're looking for. Describe
It is.
what you do to that.
She will swing and scamper down the ropes, and pulling out a small and very sharp knife, cut them as she lands in the boat, and take it to the water and sit calmly.
Perfect. Only 2 people after the splash of Lloyd into the water. Only 2 people remain on the boat. Jeremy, you're crawling in through the cargo toward the back of the ship to come up underneath your target. Matt, you are still above next to the hatch with the ladder leading down. And you both understand that this is swiftness is just as vital as reaching and slaying your target, which is why the fire is already lit. You see sparks fly, and slowly but surely they kind of maneuver towards the mast, slowly lighting this wood on fire. And what do? We'll start with Matt.
I think I'm at the top of the deck, still waiting for more people to come up. When no one does, when it's clear that no one is going to, and I see Lloyd's character light that powder and give the bird whistle, I sort of nod to him in understanding. As he dives off the ship, I sort of stop my flail from twirling, gather it up, and I do like a perfect swan dive right off the side of the ship into the water with him, immediately going for my blowgun so that I can be ready for any survivors that surface after this ship explodes. Anyone who comes up is going to get a dart in the face.
Jeremy, you reach the back of the boat, of the ship, and you climb up the hatch, and you find yourself behind looking through a small opening, perhaps like maybe almost like a laundry chute, that someone might throw something through that hole and it would fall down the cavity that you're now standing in. And inside this, you see this, you hear the splash over the side of your third companion. And so you know you're the only one left on the ship. You see a man wearing Mantis garb, but clutching the wakizashi of a crane. And he is kneeling and breathing heavily. He pulls the blade out of its scabbard and holds it to his chest. What are you going to do?
Realizing that this is supposed to be a death of dishonor, I must deny this man the ability to commit seppuku, if indeed he is intending on doing so. So he grabs a nearby fishing gaff. It's got this long pole with a hook on the end. He, with quick, almost Viking, he extends this pole nearly all the way across this small space so that the hook passes the man's face. And with a twist of his wrist and a yank back, he embeds this hook straight through the trachea of this individual and pulls him with a yank back onto his back.
The wakizashi flies out of his hands with his blood is strewn behind him and onto the ground. He falls near you and he is staring up kind of at you. He's close enough to see you as he's starting to bleed out. Do you think that you said the blade was in his trachea? Do you think he could say anything to you if he wanted to?
I think there's probably a harsh like rasp as it's probably nicked his wind box. But yes, I think he could still speak.
You know, he struggles. Strong grow the saplings of the crane. And then he dies. Your character leaves the boat, dives in, the boat begins to ignite. You reach your companions in the boat and tell them with a nod, we must inform the eye. Doji Satsu is dead. And then boom, the ship erupts into glorious fireball, and it's almost daylight arrives, and there we are, dawn rising over the ocean, and sapphire waves beat against the snapping turtle. My dear Garu, we have not yet met, but whether you know it or not, you've waited your whole life for this letter. We pan across the bulkheads of the swift vessel, women and men preparing the ship for docking. Orders are barked, ropes are pulled, and the dockyards of the crane lands glow in the morning sun. You know of what I speak, and many will now never be safe from retribution. You are among the wanted, the refugees. Sails of green and gray are emptied, unraveling the seal of the Mantis within their folds, and in the midst of a small crew of workers, one man stands apart. At the front of the docking craft, a rolled letter in his hand. wax seal of the Mantis torn from it. You are no stranger to hard times, GARU, but I assure you this threat is graver than any you faced. Through this doorway of adversity, you must enter into a new life. The Jade Magistracy is your sanctuary for now. Fear not. Lose your fear, and you gain the world. GARU, go ahead and describe your character as you're entering port in this crane town of Kawa.
GARU is a man of average height, but impressive build. His shoulders, his arms, his chest are made strong by decades serving aboard ships, pulling ropes, hoisting sails, manning the helm. He is someone who has lived a hard life. His skin is darkened by the sun and lined with these scars, these faint scars, some from battle, some from the wear and tear of a life upon the sea. Yet despite his rough appearance, GARU is a samurai, and he carries a wakizashi bearing the colors and the mon of the crane at his hip. And instead of a katana, he carries two curved blades known as kama, very common among the Mantis, for when they fight, they usually do so in extreme close quarters aboard these small sailing ships. He's standing at the front of this ship, clutching this letter in his hand, a letter that he's read a dozen times, trying to absorb the full meaning of it, trying to glean more. But he's absorbed all he can from it. He's gotten all the details he can, and the rest he must find for himself. He looks at these crane lands, these lands from which he came originally, lands he does not know. He looks to these lands, takes a steadying breath, and wishes more than anything that he could just stay on the waves.
And those waves that you wish you could call home forever grow shallower and shallower as the ground underneath them slopes upward to the docks of the city of Kawa. You see, as you pull into port, there's someone in crane garb waving at you with a hand directly at you. There are other ships in this harbor, but you seem to be the only one docking in this moment. Please give me a TN2 seafaring check to dock your ship. Describe to me how that's done and how you get off.
Yeah, so as we approach the dock, I would race towards the back of the ship where the helm is and nod to the woman currently manning the helm, sort of taking over for her. And I look towards the front of the ship, the prow of the ship, or the bow of the ship, and I see my first mate, Sheru, standing there, and he's watching me. And I sort of exchange nods with him, and I sit at the helm, and I bark out some orders, telling my crew to trim the sails and prepare to weigh anchor as I expertly maneuver it in. Well, we'll see. Let me make my roll first. Because I am doing this with just sort of experience and practice precision, something I've done a dozen times, I'm going to use Earth for this, if that's okay.
I think that is okay.
Okay, cool. So that'll give me 2 white, 2 black. That is, let's see, how many can I keep? 2. So I'm going to keep these 2. So it'll be 2 successes and 1 strife.
And you get a look from Sheru as he bows and moves to his spot on the ship to help dock it. And you kind of see a knowing look there, GARU, something that's a little not almost reluctant to take another order from you, but you've been at it with Sheru for a long time, and you've dealt with this for quite a while. So go ahead and take that 1 strife, and the ship docks expertly. And awaiting you off the ship is a man with long white hair that looks grayed near the roots, maybe perhaps as if he dyed it white a long time ago, the white of the crane. But he bows as you exit the ship, introducing himself, Asahina Ichiro, my lord. And he bows deeply to you. I have been paid to guide you to Izakaya Kenji, which is a name that you've not heard.
Before I step off the ship, I would catch Sheru, sort of grabbing him by the arm, and I would just say, Snapping Turtle is yours until I return.
You see his face soften after you do that, and maybe a small smile. Yes, Captain.
Don't go running off without me.
I wouldn't dream of it.
I think you do dream of it. And I think you dream of it often. And I would sort of clap him on the back. And I would step off of my ship onto the dock. And as this crane bows to me, I would return the bow, doing it in a manner that says that I'm not used to doing it. The Mantis don't spend a whole lot of time bowing to each other. And so I return the bow sort of hastily, clumsily, maybe not going low enough or going a little too low as I bow to him. And then sort of adjusting my satchel on my back, my shark leather armor creaking as I do so, I would nod to this man and say, I'm sorry, the name Kenji, I'm not familiar.
Oh, yes. Kenji is the most renowned tea and sake, how do you say? Well, he says the word again, izakaya, which basically means tea house, in all of the city. And there is, and you kind of pick up as he's speaking the sentence, that must be where you have been requested to meet with this group, these people known as the Jade Magistrates.
Very well. Lead the way.
And he does so. We find ourselves inside the Izakaya Genshi. It's been 3 days since you received the order, the final order from Doji Satsume. Meet Suppan no GARU here and escort him to the city in the south known as Taro. The environment is somber, though. Despite the fact that this entire day has been dedicated as a holiday to honor Doji Satsume and his death at the hands of the new Emerald Champion. You hear some words spoken, ISAWA AKUME, near you. Someone in the corner saying, "Did you hear the news of Doji Satsume?" "Oh, of course I have. That's why I'm here, trying to forget it." He takes another sip of sake, here just after dawn. What are you doing? Describe your character. Go ahead and describe what you're doing and throw it to another player.
Akume is sitting very carefully, drinking tea. It is her third cup. The first one is always slightly too weak. The middle one, perfect. The third one, slightly too strong. But at the end, she will read the leaves, see what awaits. HOKAIDEN, you look thoughtful.
The man that she's speaking to is easily past his 40th winter. The gray in his beard and hair is almost symmetrical, these streaks. And he wears this armor that is decidedly crab by design. It's rough hewn, almost looks like it was grown more than actually crafted. But it bears the colors of the Lion Clan, this kind of gold and brown. And he is pensive at the moment, kind of looking over her shoulder where these men were just talking, mentioning this recent tragedy. And he kind of cracks his knuckles as they're almost steepled in front of him. And he kind of shoots a little bit of a narrowed look in the direction of the scorpion that sits at the table.
Mitsukage, or who they believe to be Mitsukage, he's looking around. He has like these 3 empty cups of tea in front of him as well, like laid out perfectly and neatly. But he's not really concerned with that. He's not even concerned with HOKAIDEN or with AKUME. He's looking around and counting people, listening to conversations, and notably also playing a game, and notably also playing a game of dice. He's doing many things at once. He's doing them well, kind of all of them. He's kind of wandering from place to place, hearing like one of the chefs say something that he takes a note of, and things like that, just gathering information. And he'll like look in the direction of the table for a moment. His visage is totally hidden behind his mask, a red lacquer mask in the shape of an oni. And he looks in their direction and gives a curt nod and then returns to the game he's playing.
You hear something from the table next to you, Mitsukage. Some people talking about other news. Well, here's some good news. The famine. Yes, the one at Garasatan. They say it's over. They say it's ended. I guess that is something sweet. And then another nearby. In the middle of the sentence, you start hearing, and the emperor has fallen ill? That must be sickness wrought by his grief. What is the empire coming to? Mitsukage, tell me who you're playing against in this game of dice, being the Scorpion clan member in the midst of this Crane Land tea house, somber tea house.
It's a sumo who's sitting opposite him. This like very well-to-do man, big and fat, and he's good. He's really good, but he's not Mitsukage good. And the first game, Mitsukage let him win and was like humiliated by it, and he like apologized for the state of his play, and he said, "Let's just try it one more time. I think that I have discovered some of the flaws in your strategy." And then they played a second time, and then Mitsukage a little bit better, and then the third time they bet money, and then Mitsukage wiped the floor with him, but allowed him to take the money and said it's not appropriate for people of our stature to wager coin. So yeah, it's this Crane sumo wrestler.
Yeah, you said people of your stature, like you, Mitsukage, like a Jade Magistrate?
Like his stature, sumo wrestler, which Mitsukage would think is more important in some ways than a Jade Magistrate.
Understood. You hear a hiccup coming from the corner. A lot of these rooms can be privatized. You can they each seem to come with these sliding walls that can close and give you some privacy, but everything is open in this moment. And in this corner in one of these rooms, it's a kind of everyone's sitting in a crescent with their backs to the wall, and one is a little extra drunk. And he looks to you, he says, standing up, and what of a matter of you people of your stature? And he stands up, you masked menace. And then immediately you hear a voice come from Kenji, the owner. She says, "Oh dear, stop it. Do you know to whom you speak? And she goes over and brings a plate of tea to all of the other Jade magistrates, saying, muttering under her breath, the magistrates are the hand of the emperor. It doesn't matter which clan, blah, blah, blah. She's doing her duty, and but he's still kind of coming towards you. He's got a hand on his handle of his wakizashi.
Oh, goodness. MITSUKAGE won't look away from the sumo wrestler, and he will say, I'm terribly sorry about this. And he will, without looking, will say, you will place your forehead onto the floor and apologize.
The room falls silent. All eyes are not on you, Soshi MITSUKAGE, but on this Kazu. His hair is tattered. He's not slept in a couple of days. He says, I will do no such thing. And then he falls face flat, as if he did it, put his head on the floor, but then he immediately gets himself back up. His friends kind of help him up. Hey, come on, man. Let's back off, back off.
You are too deep in your cups, and you will regret this moment if you do not immediately change your tone. You're speaking to a samurai, and I will not tolerate uppity peasants. Forehead on the floor and apologize.
Please roll command. And I'm going to make it TN3, which is a little bit difficult, but that's just because he's drunk and doesn't really have his wits about him. Back off. No one can spill blood on this steak, Kazu. Stop. I'll give you free drinks for the rest of the day if you just stop.
So I got 2 successes and 1 strife.
Spits on the floor, but half of it kind of drools down his chin. He comes over, and the sumo wrestler, I assume your game is done?
I think even if it's not at this stage, it's done.
Yep. He gets up, and you have you hear a noticeable creak on the small wooden bench that he was kneeling on, and he begins moving away, but he doesn't leave. He stands in the corner and watches. This man steps in front of you and he says, compassion, courage, courtesy, duty, loyalty, honor, righteousness, sincerity. These are tenets of Bushido. Which of these come from behind a mask, you traitor?
MITSUKAGE will he's not looking at the man, and he'll reach out for the 4th cup of tea that's lined up, and he will put his elbow out to the right and lift the mask a little bit to take a sip and put it back down. Samurai means duty. That's what it means. Above all else, it means duty. You have no understanding of that.
You see fury and fire in his eyes, but behind them, there's some pain, too. He looks to Kenji. Kenji sees him and shakes her head. He looks to his friends. They're slack-jawed, eyes wide. They didn't think he'd go this far. It's your lucky day, Scorpion. And he begins to walk back towards his corner.
As soon as he turns around, I'm going to leap up and I'm going to kick his leg from under him, and I'm going to shove his face onto the floor.
Okay, do it. Give me the roll.
Oh, some fitness.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yep, fitness is great.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, and an explosion. So 4 and 2 strife.
You definitely succeed. You can describe exactly what you do, exactly what position he's in, and he won't be moving out of it as long as you want him to stay.
Yeah, so he turns to go, and MITSUKAGE will rise. I think he actually, instead of kick the man, will like kick the chair so it slides across the ground and like catches the back of his leg. He'll like fall onto his back, and MITSUKAGE will go over, grab him by the hair, roll him over, and put his forehead onto the ground. And he'll put his knee on his back. You will apologize to me, or I will take your head.
The words fall heavy. The silence of the room erupts after you tackle him, but then falls quiet again. Kenji begins to say, "You can't take his head." Is there anything you want to say in the middle of her sentence?
Yes, a lot of things, but I shouldn't say any of them.
You can't take his head. He looks to her. You've maybe hit his nose somehow. It's blood trickling out from it, dyeing his white hair red. And the silence is broken by someone new entering the room. You might look over to the entrance and you might see an older crane man, white hair, but gray at the roots, guiding a pirate of the Mantis. You don't see many of those on the mainland ever. And GARU, you walk in, and this is the scene that you are feasting your eyes on. And this man who's on the floor says, actually, you know what? Give me a command roll. Lloyd.
Me, sorry, I think McGarry.
Yeah, sorry. No, yeah, my bad. Give me a command roll, just because, listen, I think this can go a couple of ways, and we'll let the dice decide.
So 2.
Okay. He mutters under his drooling breath, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not myself."
You will take back what you said about the Scorpion clan.
The Scorpion are honorable.
No one understands duty like the Scorpion. Say it.
No one understands duty like the Scorpion.
It is your lucky day. And MITSUKAGE will get off and go back to the table.
He crawls quickly to his friends, and who kind of take him in. One wipes his face, and 2 others close the paper doors, sliding doors around them, and so they now have that private room. You turn around and move back to the table, and GARU, you see very, very clearly in this izakaya, the Jade Magistrates. They could be none other than these 3 who are, I believe, and none of them are Crane. They're the only off-clan people in this establishment. Ichiro looks to you, gives you a bow, and basically asking if he may take his leave.
I sort of look at him and return the bow quickly, clumsily, and then say, "I appreciate you guiding me here, Ichiro, but it seems as though I'm a little late for the party. These are the magistrates?"
He looks, he says, "Aye, those 2." And he points to the 2 sitting at the table. You see kind of a gruff soldier-looking samurai with rough lion armor. And you see next to him a tea-drinking, looks to be a Phoenix clan, just from the looks of it, though you can never really be too sure. And of course, standing before you, behind the table, is the Scorpion clan's representation of the magistracy.
No shit. Okay. And I would look to Ichiro, again returning the bow, and I would kind of like pat my armor, fumbling for coins,
Oh, it's already taken care of.
Right, you mentioned that. Sorry.
No. He smiles, laughs at the mutual interruption, and bows again before taking his
I
leave.
would again clumsily do the bow, maybe doing it a little too quickly and like bumping into him a little bit.
Yeah.
Just tired of all the like niceties here on the mainland. And I would, as he's sort of turning to leave, I would go, I just introduce myself to them. They know that they're supposed to be meeting me here.
Well, I confess I've assumed that along this route, but I cannot know for certain.
You know what? I'll make my own way. Thank you.
Of course.
And I will sort of again shift the weight of my satchel and approach the table where HOKAIDEN and AKUME are sitting, sort of giving MITSUKAGE a bit of a wide berth, seeing as how he just slammed a guy's face into the table, or into the floor rather. I approach their table and I sort of ignore the looks that I get here in Crane Lands, as there is a crane wakizashi on my hip. And the nature of my clan, I know that every single crane that looks me up and down and sees that wakizashi assumes that I stole it, that I killed someone and took it. But I ignore them. I'm used to it here on the mainland, and I approach the table and I would bow again to HOKAIDEN and AKUME and say, excuse me, honored magistrates, I am SUBBON no GARU. I am supposed to be meeting you here.
HOKAIDEN kind of leans back and looks at GARU and takes a moment to actually look the man up and down. Yes, we're supposed to be meeting you here. You are a pirate.
I am a samurai.
Yes. Forgive me. Please. And he gestures to an empty chair at the table.
Thank you. And I would scoot the chair out and sit. I seem to have not taken much offense at you referring to me as a pirate, being quite used to that. And also just kind of like, yeah, I am a pirate, but I'm also a samurai. And so I sit at the table and I would sort of catch the eye of the owner who's walking around, and I would sort of flag her down for some tea for myself and sort of sit uncomfortably in the chair. So, you're here to meet me. Do you know where it is that we're going?
Yes, Garu-san. I am ISAWA AKUME. Welcome.
The Mantis,
Pleasure.
the oldest minor clan, is that right?
Yes, we are.
I've never met one.
I've met many of your clan.
Well, we are a great clan, he'll say, sort of shrugging, and then we'll sit.
You are a great clan, and many times have you used the services of my clan.
Unmatched at sea.
Unmatched at sea. That's right.
Well, we will not be going by sea. We will be traveling over land. Is that something that will be doable?
Yeah, I can make that work.
MITSUKAGE, you're handed a letter, surprising, just over your shoulder from one of the servants here at this establishment. The wax seal upon it bears the seal of the sigil of the scorpion. And upon, do you want to open it here? Or do you want to save it?
Yeah, I'll just like lean back in my seat a little bit so that no one can like look over my shoulder, and then like with a crack open the seal.
Sure. It's up to you what it says, but basically it's just family business from people close to you, people that you've not heard from in a long time, and for good reason. But it's just kind of orderly. This person's living here now. This person's living here, and this is where someone has begun attending school, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, he'll like read through the letter about his like nephew and how he is like doing pretty okay. He's not excelling in swordcraft the way that he should be, and he'll read all of that and like nod to himself and then roll it up and place it into one of his many pockets.
It seems that there are a few conversations happening in this place that you might pick up on. Again, the solemn tone has subsided a bit and been replaced by, honestly, fear. Everyone's sitting and enjoying their drinks and keeping to themselves. You hear someone crying in the room that is now private, where Kazu is being mended, and there's kind of an argument in there occurring. You think you might hear an argument happening outside, but it's a city, lots of city streets. And it's up to you if you guys want to do anything else in this establishment.
I would actually, sort of after like a few moments of sort of awkward silence, I would finally get some tea, and I would sip the tea and then set it down. So Jade Magistrates, you answer to the Emerald Champion, then. Do I have that right?
Hi. Though we serve a new champion now.
Yeah, I
Not
heard
the
about
one
that.
we served. It's most unfortunate.
Mitsukage conceals a chuckle.
I had wondered if news of such things had reached you on the ocean.
Yes, I just heard yesterday, actually. Do you know what happened to the previous Emerald Champion, Doji Satsumi?
HOKAIDEN clears his throat and levels another glare in the direction of Mitsukage.
It's all accordance with the divine plan.
GARU is not accustomed to the stoicism of most samurai, and you see the twitch in his jaw as he sort of sets his teeth and just kind of like solemnly nods to you, Mitsukage, sort of looking past the lacquer mask and looking right into your eyes and giving you just like the briefest, barest nod. Right.
Like, despite the bluster of Mitsukage and how he like comes across confident, he like does not hold eye contact. It makes him very uncomfortable.
You all met him though before he died, Doji Satsumi?
We did, and it was he who entrusted us with the order of Jade Magistrates. Restored it for the first time in many years.
I can't say as though I've ever met another Jade Magistrate. It's a long dead order. Meant to deal with supernatural things, right?
The Phoenix Shugenja offers the smallest of smiles. Indeed.
Huh. What have you seen? I mean, you haven't been Jade Magistrates long, but what have you seen?
We have seen the dead brought back to a half-life.
HOKAIDEN.
We have seen
Hokaiden,
an
such
Oni
things are not for
cutting people down as if a blade through wheat. We have seen dark and terrible things.
which are best left unsaid.
He should know. If he rides with us, the chances that he will see it himself are great.
Then perhaps in a more private locale.
We also sent those things back to the Shadowlands.
They never stay there. The wall cannot keep them at bay.
Right. GARU kind of has this look on his face like he was not expecting that answer. Sorry for all the questions. I don't I don't see the mainland often, and this is my first conversation with Jade Magistrates. What was Doji Satsumi like? I've heard a lot of stories.
He was consummate crane. Which carries like exactly as much meaning as you imagine it does. Like, that is not a compliment from MITSUKAGE.
Doji Satsume did not think of clan first, but of Rokugan first. He was truly an Emerald champion.
When MITSUKAGE answers, GARU kind of a flash of disappointment across his face, but as AKUME says that, he kind of smiles a little bit and nods to her. Well, I'm ready to go whenever you are.
As soon as you say that, you hear a sound coming from outside. A scream. Someone screaming, not in pain or in fear, but kind of in terror at seeing something one would rather not see. And then the commotion begins to rise and rise and rise. And I would ask you what you do, but everyone kind of looks at you in this room. Kenji, understanding who you are and your duty as samurai, as Jade Magistrates, bows to you, takes empty cups, and says, "You may return anytime you wish."
What's going on? And he would sort of reach back to the two curved blades that are sort of holstered at his back.
She shakes her head. "I do not know, but that time you return must be another." And she begins escorting people out of the establishment. She's going to lock up early, especially as she looks out the front door and sees that there's kind of a trail of blood that is pooling right outside.
MITSUKAGE looks at the cup of hot tea go away, and he wonders if he'll ever in his life get to finish his last cup of tea every time something. He thinks about the synchronicity of that and how all things are cyclical. And then is back in the room and will look out towards the door, and without a word will rise and move over to one of the windows and press himself against the side next to it and try and pop his head out and see.
You see on the ground the crane man that escorted GARU in. It looks to have some sort of bolt sticking out of his chest. His hands are bloodied, and one is kind of in a permanent claw. And there's a woman there who turns to you and says, "Somebody murdered him," and clearly. And then she says, "And then somebody else took something from his hand. It was a piece of paper, a scroll. and then she points, and you follow her hand upward as you move out into the street. You see one person running or climbing the construction bamboo scaffolding up to the rooftops, and a second person running through this crowded thoroughfare, shoving people aside left and right, trying to escape the scene. And since Matt, you're my rules guy today, go ahead and remind me how initiative works in L5R. I mean, sorry, no, I rephrased that wrong. Matt, go ahead and remind our viewers how initiative works in
L5R. When it's a TN1 tactics check, basically. I imagine that this would probably be vigilance, since we're not prepared for it. So you make a TN1 tactics check and then add any bonus successes to your vigilance, and that's your initiative number.
Awesome. So everybody go ahead and do that. Again, there are two people. One is running north headed north, and is climbing up on the construction scaffolding almost to the rooftop. And the second is running west down the crowded thoroughfare. You see the construction scaffolding bend and bow where this person is flinging themselves upward. You see that they are skilled in the, would you call it the art of shinobi, or whether that's an art or not.
Real quick question.
Sure.
Vigilance is air plus water divided by 2. Do you round up or down?
Oh.
Mine is 3 halves, and I don't think I can.
I think you round up. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I almost typed Gary. You're Gary now.
Hey guys, I'm Gary. I heard you're supposed to be escorting me down to Tyro.
Act, Gary.
Oh,
Act.
boy.
And
Gary is a CPA from the Mantis clan.
So I'll ask you, Mitsukage, which direction do you run? If you decide you want to do something else, you may.
He's going to go after the person climbing, because that's his specialty. He's exceptional at it, and he knows that like the others won't be able to. Well, maybe GARU can. He doesn't know yet what he's capable of. He might be doing a lot of rigging, climbing, and things like that on the ship. But for now, he's certain of his ability to climb, and will chase that person.
GARU, how about you?
I would also climb, because I am very used to climbing on things. So I would sort of run out into the street, and as I'm running, I am pulling this long shaft out of my pack and then stringing it, making it certain that it's a Yumi. And as I'm stringing it, I look and I see Mitsukage sort of taking off, and he's already starting to scale the bamboo, and I would head off in that direction as well.
Perfect. AKUME. Are you going to head north towards you're going to go with Mitsukage and GARU and climb as well?
No, I thought north was along the street.
Sorry, north is along the rooftops. West is through the thoroughfare.
West. Then I will go west.
Great. All right. And
HOKAIDEN. The party.
Yeah.
HOKAIDEN actually, as he stood up, he actually reaches beside his chair next to the table, where his hand grabs nothing but air, as he's used to the tetsubo that he used to carry leaning there, and it's simply not there. And it takes him a moment of hesitation to realize that it's just not simply there. He shakes his head and rushes out into the street following his companions, and sees these two individuals like hand over fisting their way up this scaffolding as if it's a children's game. He kind of looks at them, shakes his head again, realizing that there's just no way, and takes off after AKUME down the street.
And the chase is on. And that's where we're going to take a 5 to 7 minute break here.
Hey.
See everybody in a minute. This has been a really fun game so far. I'm really happy with the way it's gone. My favorite part is how I can just sit back and not talk for 10 minutes. That's really awesome, actually, contrary to what people might believe. But thanks, everybody, for checking this out. Again, if you want to check out the original trilogy, it's on the A Fistful of Dice YouTube channel. You can go check that out over there. The playlist link is in the notes below. So this is awesome. Can't wait to see how this chase goes, and we'll talk to you soon.
How's it going, everybody?
I'm so cold.
Are you?
Yeah.
It's like unseasonably cold for you guys now?
Yes. We got more snow yesterday than I've seen in many years.
I guess you guys are kind of getting hit with like the second round of that stuff.
Yep, seems like it. I thought we were going to be spared it, but... And honestly, like, even when we get it bad, it's not bad. But,
Right.
like, we don't have a ton of, like, infrastructure to deal with snow, so, like, our road, it's been 48 hours and our road still hasn't been plowed or anything. No one's come by to salt anything, so it's just, we don't have a lot of resources to be able to deal with snow when we do get hit, just because it's so rare.
Yeah, it's the same here. Probably even more so, actually. I don't even think our cities own plows.
Yeah.
And we don't use salt because it's too expensive here. So instead, they sand the roads.
Yep. We get sand quite a bit too. Yeah.
Yep. And I think there's like 2 trucks per county, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have to rent like snow plows from like the east side. They have to come over the mountain pass and everything. The worst we ever had it was actually, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. We had this horrible ice storm. It was just like, it kept melting and freezing every night. And everything was just ice. There wasn't any snow. And my car was covered in like a film of ice. Like I had to go out and like break the ice off my car to get in there. And no one had power. No one had internet, but we did in our apartment. And so we had like 8 or 9 people in our apartment, like on the internet, because they're like, oh, I have a paper to write or I have work to do. Like, can I come over and like use your internet? So we were just like this like beacon of hope in this like just dark winter hell.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we get almost nothing but sleet and ice here whenever it gets cold.
That's usually what we get too, but apparently we decided to have some snow this year. So
and we do get hail. That's we get, and it's big.
Fun.
Yeah,
we'll get tornadoes sometimes in northern Texas.
No, I'm good on that.
Tacoma has some pretty vicious ice storms too every once in a while.
Yes, that's what I was just telling Jeremy about this horrible ice storm that we had 4 or 5 years ago. Everyone was inside for just days and days and days.
Like speed limit signs were just covered in ice and
ours doesn't usually last that long. It's not usually quite that bad.
Yeah.
Pretty much just the bridges and the overpasses that become really dangerous.
Right.
But where I'm from in Northeast Texas, we have real tall, skinny pine trees. And when we get ice, all the pine trees start to go down. And so then the roads are blocked and houses have trees in them and power lines are down. And that's weeks of mess.
That's what we have to deal with too, because we have those evergreen trees.
Yeah.
And they get weighed down by all the ice and the snow, and then they snap like toothpicks, and it's just like power out everywhere. It's crazy.
So before we get back going on, I gotta say, Heather got me a hot and ready pizza today. It's not Provoker's, but she still got me hot and ready for the game. So I'm enjoying this $5 pizza.
It tastes like a $7 pizza.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring this up is because Heather specifically got the extra. It's the extra pepperoni. It's called the bestest pepperoni. Like they're not even trying to name it. Here's. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slices of pepperoni on this one slice of pizza. Is that really the bestest you can do?
I was gonna say that's pretty high, but I don't know about the bestest.
Why is that high? God, man, I feel like
bestest would have to be at least twice that.
If you start throwing around words like bestest, you better put some.
Yeah, I don't want to see the cheese.
Exactly. Yep.
Come on.
The first layer of pepperoni is hidden.
Yeah, exactly. Now maybe see if they put pepperoni under the cheese too, that'd be fine. All right, let's see.
There was a pizza that I can't remember who had it, but there was one pizza place that did it was like an ultimate pepperoni, and it was like you got it and you're like, I don't know, like I guess there's pepperoni, and then you bite it and you're like, there's pepperoni under the cheese too. There's 2 layers of pepperoni. It's just ridiculous.
I remember that. I don't remember where it was from, but
It was like a cold cut sandwich pizza. It was ridiculous.
All right. Has anyone here seen Ong Bak?
Yes.
All right.
First
Good.
two.
Good.
Is it
Ong
Ong Bak? That's Where's My Elephant, or is that Ong Bak 2? Is Ong Bak Where's My Buddha?
Ong Bak 1 is the elephant.
Okay, yeah. Because it's just like, give me my elephant, and the second one is, give me that Buddha statue, and he just kills people until he gets his stuff.
The best part in the first Ong Bak is when they blow up that oil barrel and they think he's dead, and he comes flying out of the and his knees are on fire, and he just hits those guys with his flaming knees. Oh my god, it's so good.
I don't know. The jumping through between the panes of glass was pretty damn epic.
So be ready. Well, not ready, but I encourage you to add things to the scene. You know, if you're in, be that person. If you're in a tavern, instead of asking, hey, is there a bottle that I can hit this guy over the head with? Just say, I grabbed the bottle and I hit him over the head with, you know, it's just to assume that you got it. So MITSUKAGE and GARU, you are climbing after this presumed assassin. You see he has one of those, he has a hood over his head, a black hood, but he's not dressed all in black. He has some gold trim in there. And you pursue him on that same construction scaffolding. Go ahead and roll finesse, both of you.
Finesse or fitness?
I meant fitness.
Okay, cool. I'm going to tag one of my distinctions here.
Cool.
I have keen balance, which will allow me to re-roll 2 dice if I want to.
Great.
I have that same sickness, so I also get to do that.
Oh boy.
I want to see who gets to the top first. But you do see this person crest over the top of this rooftop and disappear from your vision. MITSUKAGE, your speculations were correct about this pirate from the seas. Clearly, climbing masts and riggings has trained him in the arts of pursuing someone up to the top of a building, but you pride yourself in still being able to get up there first. As you get up there, which ones are the ring dice, guys? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, ouch. A dart, almost like a bolt, a long dart flies by your head. Take 2 strife for that roll that you just took. And you see the man or woman who fired it immediately afterwards snap this long blowgun over their right leg, throw one of the pieces down, and continue running along the rooftop. And both of you can describe yourself emerging on top of this rooftop and commencing the chase.
Not eating, I'll go. MITSUKAGE thinks of the dragonfly and how it doesn't go towards its prey, it goes where its prey is going. And so that's what he's going to try and do. He gets to the top and sees where this person is moving, and rather than try and run after them, he's going to try and run in the direction that they're going to go, and so intercept, basically, hoping that GARU will just chase, and we can like herd this person into the same location.
Oh, that's excellent. Give me a tactics or meditation or skullduggery roll.
Yep. Skullduggery.
And GARU, while he's rolling, how do you emerge right behind him over the top on the roof?
So as I was coming out of the tea house, I was stringing my Yumi, and as I see him sort of beginning to climb the scaffold, I I sort of put that across my back so that the bowstring is across my chest and I have it there ready. And I take to climbing this with both hands. And as I reach the top, I twirl out one of these these curved blades, and I use that almost like an ice pick to sort of haul myself up onto the scaffolding. And I see Mitsukage sort of like take off like in another direction, sort of like across a rooftop. And I'm not really sure what he's doing, but I just sort of pursue straight line this this robed or this cloaked figure, trying to stay within visual range of them.
Perfect. And you do so. This person's fast, but you think you might be able to catch them. Mitsukage, how'd you roll?
I got 4 successes and 2 strife.
Okay, you see that the rooftops are somewhat of an L shape, and so this person is running to the end of the L and then is probably going to have to turn along the rooftops, and you can get there. Well, no, let me take a step back. They're going to turn along the rooftops, and then that last roof kind of slants down into a marketplace sort of bazaar area. You can get directly to that bazaar by going a little bit forward and zip lining on a laundry line down into the bazaar yourself. And with that knowledge, we're going to turn to AKUME. You see your 2 companions leap over the roof. They're doing their own thing, but this person is shoving people aside on this busy thoroughfare, merchants, peasants, servants alike, trying to get out, and they look to be heading towards an alleyway. But they might lose themselves in the crowd, you're finding. So go ahead and describe how you pursue, but also what would you say, Matt, would be good for like just keeping an eye on someone, like almost like perception, but like sort of...
Say maybe man, that's a tough one because this game really doesn't have like a perception skill necessarily. So I would say potentially like
What about something like martial arts ranged?
Yeah, actually, I think that, well, I mean, well, that's using missile weapons, but for fun, I think I'd choose either skullduggery or martial arts ranged, just not as a combat role, but as a way to see that tactics is a good one too.
Yeah, I was gonna say either tactics or skullduggery would probably be good for like tailing someone, basically.
Let's do that. Tactics or skullduggery there, AKUME. Unless you actually want to shoot him, then roll martial arts range.
No, AKUME will take the water stance, and that will give her extra swiftness as she slides through the crowd, weaving between people gracefully. I will attempt to roll tactics, which I suck at. Nope, no successes.
You see white-haired faces and cloaked heads and hats, and all of a sudden a cacophony of people, individuals become one, and that one you were looking for seems to disappear in the crowd. HOKAIDEN, what do you do? Or how do you fare? I'd have you roll the same thing, I think.
Okay.
But you can describe what you do as well, just in case it's different.
Well, I was thinking that this individual was pushing his way through a crowd, like you said, but at some point he comes across these this cart is being pulled and has to go around it. And HOKAIDEN is having a difficult time making his way through the crowd as he's much larger than this person. And at some point, he gets near these oxen and just lets out this roar that kind of spooks these oxen into getting out of his way, and he's able to cut a more direct path to try to catch up with this individual.
Okay, cool, perfect. Give me that roll, and you part in a way this crowd of people.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go with fire. Sounds kind of like a fire thing.
Actually, if you wanted to, you could make it a fitness roll, and that would allow you to see this person through the opening that you're making.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna stick with the tactics if that's all right.
That is all right.
Cool. All right. That is exploding success and a strife. So a success and strife.
Okay, you see him, and you're able to direct AKUME towards his location as well. He's entering into a very, very slender alleyway. He jumps over one person, plows through another one, and then takes a right, presumably down a separate alleyway. And as you pursue Mitsukage, you reach the rope that is kind of tethering down to this bazaar. Not all the way. It's leading to another roof, but there are a lot of drapes and streamers, and it looks like laundry, but it's probably more decorative over the bazaar. And what do you do?
Yeah, he will try and get down into the bazaar if possible, and then he wants to like wait till he gets a good view of the roof where this person is, and he's going to palm a shuriken and have it ready to go.
Perfect. What sort of item are you going to use to zip line down?
That's a good question. I think I might pull my wakizashi from the belt and like put it over the top and skid down.
That's wonderful. Make a fitness check for me. Garu, you are pacing behind this guy, and he makes a jump over a gap between two buildings, and you see it coming. You make a fitness check as you approach that chasm to leap over it as well to stay right behind him. Mitsukage, you zip line down into the bazaar. Sheets of multiple colors, blues and reds and orange, fly off the rope into your face a little bit, maybe. But then as you reach the bottom, you open the wakizashi, perhaps, and land perfectly on your feet or do a roll. You can describe it if you'd like.
Yeah, I think he actually gets caught up in some of the towels and things that are dangling, and he'll like use one of those to like arrest his fall towards the end, and then he wants to like put one over himself as if it's like a shawl, and like stand at a corner as if he's like some old man just like watching the proceedings while he like gets ready the shuriken.
Great. You get ready the shuriken. Go ahead and roll skullduggery and just write in the chat what you get. You are gaining speed, Garu, and you leap over this gap between these two buildings and land with room to spare. You're gaining on this person. You feel a slight maybe twist in your ankle, but you know after you gain that one strife for that you're going to feel that later more than you're feeling it now. You see that he's going to turn left on the rooftops up ahead, and you see that Mitsukage is going to meet him halfway.
Would it be possible, instead of, I shifted into water stance to be able to do an extra action. Would it be possible for me to, rather than gain the extra movement, to maybe do a assist action for Mitsukage? Basically, I want to try and herd this guy right into Mitsukage's path.
That's perfect. I misread what you wrote in the chat, but that's awesome about the water stance extra action. So,
okay, cool.
Yep, you definitely can do that with an assist action.
Okay, cool.
He looks behind him and he sees you, and you kind of angle yourself in a way that's forcing him in this certain direction towards the bazaar. And the last thing you see is he jumps off this roof and maybe onto like an awning and begins sliding down it, or such is the plan. But you're still gaining on him. You're actually still close. You feel like you might even be able to touch him before Mitsukage, or shove him into Mitsukage's arms or something. But before that, AKUME, you see this. You're in this alleyway pursuing the second assassin, or the person who stole the message out of Ichiro's hand, and he has taken a right into what looks to be an indoor fighting den. You have sumo wrestling. You have kind of Muay Thai. You have people training. You have people standing there paying homage to Doji Satsume. You see banners of the crane and banners of Doji in there. And but you very quickly realize that this person might be hiding in plain sight. So give me a tactics or skullduggery check. Hokaiden, do you want to enter through that same way?
If that's where I saw the individual going, then definitely.
Okay, so you go ahead, AKUME.
I was just saying, I was using the water stance earlier to try and catch up, but I will be switching into earth stance now.
Okay, got you. Great.
Oh, and that was good.
So it's safe to say you'd get in there first, and I'm going to give you a lower target number, AKUME.
I got 4 successes.
It doesn't matter.
I had some explosions.
Your target number there, Hokaiden, is 2. But as you get there, you see AKUME's eyes narrow at one of the fighters against the wall, who just glances at you, AKUME, locks eyes with you. You see a mask over his face, but like his eyes widen. Mask? Like a what?
Like a scorpion mask?
It's possible. I mean, yes. You've seen. You'd use your judgment to assume yes. It looks like it's got the decorative. You don't see many masks, especially in crane lands, but it's got some decorative marks on them that might say scorpion. But anyone can wear a mask. You lock eyes with him. You see his eyes widen, and he takes off into the central, like through the middle of the fighting arena area, and he shoves one person to the side who kind of collides into you a little bit, AKUME, but it's nothing that will cause any damage or whatnot.
So is that tactics check my action?
No, you can go ahead and make your action right now.
Okay, I was trying to catch up to him. How close could I have gotten?
I think because he stopped in the room, you can catch up to him this turn.
Okay. What are the floors made out of?
Probably bamboo with some rugs here and there. What would you say?
I mean, they're probably, I don't know, like dirt underneath it, right? Because I've got this lovely little grasp of earth invocation, and it calls upon the earth kami to lay a hold of someone, dragging them down and containing them. It says usually this invocation causes the target's legs to sink into ground that is turned into sucking mud, quicksand, or a hole beneath them and entraps them. So I'm not sure how that works, if there's a bamboo floor or if I can like have the dirt under the floor basically like come up and grab him around the calves.
I think that's something that you can do, the latter. And okay. I think the floor is such where it's been used so often that there are parts that are there's small gaps where you can see the dirt coming through.
Okay, so I will make my check. Oh, baby. Stop trying to eat my dice. I have a cat in my lap who's trying to eat my dice. So we'll go 1, 2. We'll keep those 2 and 3, 4. So I'm gonna keep 3 of those successes, and that will successfully entrap him. And he must make a TN4 fitness check.
All right, he's going to do that right now.
Oh, he also takes 2 supernatural damage.
Oof. Ooh. Interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, so he needs to make a TN what fitness check?
4.
Oh, he rolls 6 dice and has failed at his fitness check so bad.
So he's now prone in addition to taking that damage.
Describe to me what this looks like and what the fighters in the arena are kind of forced to scatter or do.
So AKUME comes into this arena and she sees the man, and her graceful stance changes and it becomes much stronger. She stamps her foot on the floor, and it's almost a grunt rather than a word as her hands come up and dirt and rock burst through the bamboo floor, grabbing this man and pulling him to the ground.
The look on everyone's faces is to say it's shock would be an understatement. There are people who fall backward, who can't believe what their eyes are seeing. He thinks you've tackled him at first, and he just kind of struggles left and right, throwing elbows. He's got this crunched sheet of paper, parchment in his hand, and his mask comes off, and you realize that he is his entire left side of his face is marred off by probably flame, and he's only got one eye, and he's flipped around by the dirt, held on his back. And HOKAIDEN, you walk into this room seeing this. Do you have perhaps a reason you might have gained 5 strife here? Maybe a fighting den isn't your favorite place, or maybe just seeing people fight for sport reminds you of the wall or whatnot. Why did you gain 5 strife as you entered?
I think there was a similar establishment back in the Crane Clan lands that I frequented a lot. I think there was probably a period where HOKAIDEN was a terrible drunk. And he lost probably a few years in a place like this. So the memory of that kind of comes crashing down on him like the moment he steps through the door.
You can taste the sake on the wind, on the stale air in this place, on the sweat and the fumes that are coming off of these fighters. You can still hear the sounds of clinking glasses that you yourself are in your mind toasting to some feigned importance, just a reason to take another drink. You shake yourself off and you see that the one you're pursuing is trapped on the ground. What's your action here? What did you want to do?
After his moment's hesitation, he's jarred back to the present by this kind of lightning twinge across his lower back, a reminder of a battle that changed everything. He realizes kind of where he's at and what's going on now, and sees this man being held and recognizes that it is the magic of the Shugenja. And he quickly crosses as fast as he can to lend help in making sure that this individual doesn't escape again. And if he's able to get to him, he's going to step on his forearm and wrist and yank the piece of paper out of his hand.
You do so freely because of the spell of AKUME, and as you do that, one of the coaches, one of the trainers, walks up to you and says, "You are a Shugenja."
I am. It should be obvious.
You know, we are in need of many trainers. This distraction is maybe slightly annoying to you, but how does that make you feel?
A Jade Magistrate has no time for such frivolities and base attractions.
His face is stretched and pales, and he bows immediately. Of course. And he bows very, very deeply, far more so than is necessary in usual circumstances. MITSUKAGE, you're raveled in this bright pink, maybe, cloth, and you see and we'll wrap this part up here. You see this scorpion assassin jump down onto this awning and begin sliding down. And right behind him, there's SUBBON no GARU, who is just on the heels of this guy. And as they both land, SUBBON no GARU, tell me how you really corral this person into Mitsukage's arms or Mitsukage's grasp.
I think I actually anticipate where he's going to land, and I sort of leap and slide on the awning so that I'm sort of between him and Mitsukage, sort of cutting off his escape. And I still have my kama in my hand, and I sort of twirl it in my hand menacingly and sort of like come towards him, sort of making him back up right into Mitsukage.
Mitsukage, he backs up right into you. What happens next?
I realize that he's a Scorpion clan member, and this is a clan issue, and therefore more important to Mitsukage than this Jade business. And so he like is going to pretend pretend that this guy knocks him down. So I'm going to maybe perform or something. But I want to give the impression that he like has bowled me over, and I wasn't able to get him.
I think that would take a performance check.
Yeah. Okay.
GARU, would that, or Matt, would that be a TN, or would that be a contested roll of some type?
I think it would be a contested roll, yeah. So I would probably try and see through it with like a sentiment check, which is not great for me, but
yep,
it would be just a success off, basically. Whoever gets the most successes on their check.
All right, let's do that.
And I don't really know Mitsukage, so I don't think that it would be... I wouldn't rely on my knowledge of him, but rather just my knowledge of lying and deceit. So I'm going to go ahead and use water stance, if that's okay.
I'm going to use fire because I'm not prepared for this. And it's like, just like, oh shit, gotta make sure this guy doesn't die. It's going to be 2 from me.
And I can keep 3. So that's 1. I get 3 successes, but I get 2 strife.
You feel in the pit of your gut, GARU, that this Jade Magistrate, this person of regal importance, is hiding something, and you feel the pang of the mainland. There's no kind of trust that you can gain that is equal to the trust of a crew and a ship. And you have been lied to on your first day on the mainland. Mitsukage, though, you still fall, and he kind of still tramples over you and continues running. Actually, should probably make a roll to see if he stays standing, though. You're letting him go, though, correct, Mitsukage?
Yeah, so I'm trying to make it look like he bumps into me. I want to get close. Yeah. But I'm not actually gonna I'm not trying to stop him. I'm gonna when he gets close, basically do like a dive. I'm gonna pretend like he's knocking me to the ground.
Perfect. So you get knocked to the ground, and he keeps running into this marketplace bazaar. Tons of people, animals, horses, music, performers. A theater just empties out into the street, and so there's just multiple people. The showing was poems read in honor of Doji Satsume, and you are beginning to lose this person in the crowd. Now, lastly, what I'll have GARU do is make a choice. You choose if you want to try to keep pursuing and try to find him in the crowd, or help Mitsukage up.
I'd like to present a third option. I'd like to shoot this guy in the back, the guy running.
Beautiful.
Present
a third option.
So I have my bow sort of slung across my back, and I put my kama between my teeth, just holding it between my teeth as I take my bow out and bring out an arrow, draw back, and fire. I'm used to firing across ships as we sort of pass each other, so I lead this target as I aim here. So it's going to be 3 black and 1 white. Okay. So I can do it, but I'm gonna be almost to my limit on strife here. my cabbages. Oh God, I hope I don't get cabbage merchant. Okay, so that's 3 successes, 2 strife, 1 opportunity. With the opportunity, let's see. I'm in water stance. Give me 1 second. I would like to.
You could spot a physical.
I'd like to maybe, I'd like to maybe notice if I hit this guy with an arrow. I'd like to maybe notice something about him that I maybe hadn't noticed before, since I've just been focusing on chasing him. So
got it. Well,
I guess I should tell you how much damage too, right?
You should. You should.
So Yumi does 5 damage, and I got 1 bonus success, so 6 damage total.
Okay. You hit him, and you see as his arm kind of flies up after you're hit, after he's hit kind of in the shoulder area. You see the sleeve of his cloak pulled down, and you actually see maybe a tattoo that you recognize as nothing important, but just something that a peasant would give to another peasant, or a farmer would give to another farmer. It tells you that these aren't real assassins, that these are maybe fakes, people who have been paid to look the way they look.
Say what? Okay, noted as hell. Yeah, I actually, one of my advantages is the fact that I spend a lot of time with common people. And so I'm thrown back to this time that I was on one of the Mantis Islands, and me and the crew we were drunk on leave, and we went to this tattoo parlor to all get the same tattoos from this just low-born tattoo artist. And I remember the way the ink looked and the design of it and sort of the simplicity of it. And I see that tattoo and I just kind of like drop my bow. And even though I hit the guy and he's bleeding now, I just let him disappear into the crowd. And then I look over at Mitsukage. The comma is still between my teeth, and I sort of like reach a hand down to help him up.
He thinks about it for a second and then takes the hand and will stand. Thank you.
Very graceful until the end there.
Yes, an accident.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't samurai.
It wasn't?
No. But we're, I think, made to think it was. He had a tattoo on his sleeve. Something a common person would have. Not fitting of a samurai.
No samurai would lower themselves.
And I would kind of like shift so that the massive tattoo that's on my back is sort of covered by my armor. Right.
Yeah, Mitsukage would have no idea, and he would think it's like extremely low, like very vulgar thing to do to get a tattoo. Like gang members get tattoos, you know. And he would sort of nod. Did you hit him?
I did.
Is he dead?
Yep. I don't think so, but he'll be needing attention. I bet if we pursue, we could find him.
He has to die.
We have to ask him questions first. That's how this works, right?
Yes, and then he dies.
Sure.
AKUME, you're standing there with the crunched scroll in your hand. You gaze upon it, unravel it. It's still sealed with wax, though it's torn at a couple different locations. The wax seal bears the icon of the Mantis.
And does that... And she'll look at HOKAIDEN. Is there a name?
Kind of looks at it for a second and then hands it to her while keeping his eyes on the individual on the ground.
She'll turn it over, searching for markings, any indication of who the recipient might have been.
The marking, you know what? Go ahead and give me a government check.
Okay, sure.
That was my
That's
goal here. I want to make
first
people roll all the things
I
I do.
was gonna say, I think it's the first time we made a government roll in this
I was
campaign.
just typing in the chat. I'm like, all these skills that I had no idea existed in this game.
That's 2 successes on a strife.
This is very good paper. You've opened many scrolls in your life, and in your Jade Magistracy, this is your primary way of getting notice of new missions and notifications of locations you need to be at or things that you need to do. And you've only ever received one letter from the offices of the Emperor. And you vaguely remember opening that scroll, the one that summoned you to the Emerald Champion in the first place. You recognize the gold tinge, not gold itself, but almost like a gold tan tinge near the edges of the parchment, and how it hasn't been completely destroyed by this person's fist and sweat. And so you assume that it comes from high up.
Yeah, she will smooth out some of the creases and tuck it into her robes. And then look to HOKAIDEN. We should perhaps discover what this man knows. Although this is not the ideal location for such conversations.
HOKAIDEN's eyes kind of drift over to the gathered collection of gamblers and fighters. Yes, I agree.
He kind of speaks out for the first time. The eye sees what you cannot. I will not tell you a thing. And then maybe some sand rushes into his mouth a little bit, or he can't continue talking. He's been restrained, so the air is being pulled out of his lungs. He can't speak.
HOKAIDEN then reaches down and kind of grabs the front of his clothing and kind of nods to AKUME to let her understand that it's safe to let go with her magics.
Yeah, she'll wave one hand and the dirt dissolves to sand, sinking back down.
He sits there ferociously looking at you.
And HOKAIDEN lifts him up onto his feet with this one massive arm and starts to drag him forcibly from this place as quick as he can.
And you do so. He's at your mercy for the remainder of this scene and, I mean, the coming scenes. AKUME, you get a final low bow from what appears to perhaps be the sensei of this dojo, and he waits for you to turn away before he averts his gaze from the floor.
Yeah, AKUME will sweep after HOKAIDEN, eager to be away from the noxious smell of sweat and sake and gambling. It reeks of common.
Oh, it does. The air outside tastes as fresh as you've ever tasted when compared to the disgusting sweat of the dojo. You begin to walk back towards the direction that your companions ran in, hoping that they were successful and hoping that nobody was hurt in the process. MITSUKAGE and GARU, you have followed the trail of blood through the market, through a couple alleyways, through an unfortunate spice merchant's kind of small corner shop, and once you walk in the spice merchant, she will point in the direction of the back door immediately, knowing who you're looking for. You walk back and there's an alleyway. You follow the droplets of blood, and then you find their end in the stables. You enter, and all of the stalls are empty, all of the horses being used currently. And in the third stall, there's a pool of blood where this person has slain themselves with a bolt thrust into their own heart. It looks like they're still alive, but not for long. They might have a few seconds left. It's just a horrific wound, and they're about finished bleeding out on the stable floors.
GARU is standing there holding both Kama, ready for a fight, and he comes around this corner and he sees this and just goes, damn. We're too late.
He dies in shame. MITSUKAGE will go over and pull the mask from him.
You see a face of a too young girl who has donned this scorpion mask and fled the scene of the crime. You look at her arms and hands, and you see markings of a slave. Perhaps a tattoo on the wrist, or a brand is probably more like it. A brand that looks like an open eye.
So I'm not super sure on this, but I assume the Scorpion clan wouldn't use slaves. Like, it doesn't seem...
No. It seems beneath you.
Yeah.
It seems, too low even for the Scorpion, for sure.
Even for the Scorpion? What does that mean?
I'm sorry. I meant especially for the Scorpion. I meant the Scorpion are the most honorable clan.
Correct. So seeing that, he'll just shake his head like, this is pathetic. Whatever this thing is that has like tried to besmirch the honor of his clan. He's unhappy about it. He'll take the mask and like fling it away, and then shake his head in disgust and look at GARU. The trail ends.
And it didn't take long for... Oh, go ahead, GARU.
GARU is just shaking his head, and he puts the Kama back in their holsters on the small of his back, and he sort of puts his back against one of the stable walls and slides down into a crouch, his skin sort of pale in the sort of dim light of the stable, shaking his head. Just a kid. Who would do this?
She besmirches the honor of the Scorpion clan. She is not just a kid.
These brands, markings, she did not do this of her own free will.
We all have power over ourselves. And I guess you would know, like, there's no getting through to MITSUKAGE on this. He is like certain, it would just be clear by the way that he's speaking that like this is a disgusting thing that's happened, and that like, yeah, his prejudices are like coming to the fore.
GARU sort of stands, and you see that a color returns to his face in anger, and he says, "My condolences for the slight against your clan today. What a loss for you to have to weather. We should search her."
No, I will not touch the dead beneath me.
I had to go with you. I had to follow you. I'll sort of kneel, and with as much reverence and as I can muster, I will search through her clothes, trying to see if there's anything on her aside from her weapons.
Very little, but you do find again her weapons include another bolt, the one that's not in her chest. It's like a long, almost like a crossbow bolt, but clearly used for aerodynamics and for firing from a blowgun. And you see a cup that's wrapped. You find a cup that's wrapped in a cloth, and inside of it are dice, maybe 2 or 3 dice a set. And then lastly, you see a small crumpled piece of paper.
I take the paper and unroll it.
You see a very crudely drawn map of the area surrounding Izakaya Kenji, the tea house that you met the Jade Magistrates in today.
I study the map for a second and then hand it up to MITSUKAGE.
As you receive it, MITSUKAGE, HOKAIDEN, AKUME, enter after following the blood trail through the marketplace and asking many people who are happy to help and telling you where your friends went. They enter the stables with the second runaway in Hokaiden's arm, being dragged behind him.
Biden looks at this individual laid out in the stable, this young girl with a bolt through her heart, and he kind of gives a displeased look at first MITSUKAGE and then at GARU. What happened?
It did it itself.
She died by her own hand.
And he kind of tosses the other one down into the hay next to her.
Easy. I don't think they're acting of their own volition.
Killed a man. Doesn't matter if they did it for someone else or themselves. It's murder. And he again kind of levels this look at MITSUKAGE.
I'm certain they were sent here with some purpose, just as we have been sent to kill things in the past.
Hokaiden and I were swift and clever enough to capture this one alive for questioning.
And what have you discovered?
I will not say any. Does anybody want to interrupt him or do anything to him in the middle of a sentence?
He's not wearing a mask, is he?
No.
Then no.
Hokaiden will kick him in the stomach.
I will not say any.
Is this guy, is he similarly like young?
Actually, no, a little bit older, maybe middle-aged.
I feel less bad about him getting beat up than I'm okay with it. I'll let it pass.
He's a high 6 years old. Is
I'm 6.5. Thank you very much.
6.5. Yikes! No. He's definitely middle-aged, perhaps in his 30s.
I have training in the 9 iron ways of interrogation, if that is necessary.
Oh boy, I can't wait for this.
AKUME shoots you a sharp look for the lack of decorum and free speech you seem to bring to bear.
And as you do that, I kind of like catch myself and sort of like just sort of lower my gaze and like let the Jade Magistrates, like the highest office that you can potentially hold and not be the emperor, like do your jobs, sort of like stand back.
Hokaiden will kind of crouch down next to this individual, one arm kind of resting on the end of his katana as he kind of thumbs the stingray skin that is beneath the silk cording. I don't think torture will be necessary. Do you? And he looks him straight in the eyes.
Roll me a command roll. And if you can ever think of one that might fit better, feel free to bring it up. But I think that works.
Command. And I think I'm going to go with Earth stance here.
Okay.
Trying to remain calm, unmoving. All right, let's see. Okay, so that is 1 success, 3 strife, and 2 upper vanities.
And nice. And you ask him, basically, I don't think torture will be necessary. Do you? And looking directly in his gaze, and he looks directly into your eyes, HOKAIDEN. And then he looks directly into MITSUKAGE's and says, I have no doubt.
Mitsukage doesn't hold the gaze for long, and we'll look at HOKAIDEN. Should I begin?
He just sighs and stands. The pops of his knees audible in this small space. You may. And he moves towards the door to keep watch.
GARU, hold him.
He hesitates, which he knows if he were not a samurai would be enough for you to lop his head off. And he nods once to you.
So GARU will hold his hand, and I will take out this filleting knife, and I will cut under his fingernail and pull it off.
He gazes upward at the ceiling and then slowly lowers his gaze down to you.
There are 9 iron ways of interrogation. This one is least painful.
He says nothing. But give me, I want to leave a roll to it. What do you think? Command or skullduggery? Maybe.
This feels pretty skullduggery.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dark skill set.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, I feel like command is more like, I'm trying to convince you of something in court, not I'm pulling at your fingernails in a staple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good roll.
Words begin to ring in your ears or in your mind, HOKAIDEN and AKUME. And those words are compassion, courage, courtesy, duty and loyalty, honor, righteousness, sincerity. And then he will assume that Mitsukage, you start simply and ask him what his name is or something like that, unless you want to. And he, right as those words cross your mind, you hear 17. Oh, my name is 17.
Mitsukage's face is impassive behind the mask. His eyes don't look at the man really. They focus on the task, and so he's been trained to do this so he doesn't lose his lunch or feel worried or compassion. 17 is not a name.
It's the only one you're going to get from me. AKUME, you are opening the scroll.
Uh-huh.
You unravel the scroll sent by, maybe even the Emperor himself. And
there's like a moment's hesitation from AKUME. Okay, a moment's hesitation, but AKUME recognizes that they are probably the only people in the city worthy of receiving such a scroll. If it was not meant for them, then it could be meant for very few others. And so she will open it and break the seal.
You break the Mantis seal and open the scroll, and you see there at the very top, the salutation is addressed to SUBBON no GARU. And that is actually where we're going to end tonight's game. I think that there's enough torture for me, and I think we're going to maybe find a way to fast forward through that for the next time. But thank you, guys.
That was great.
That was awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, that's layered.
My favorite part, I think, and this might be my favorite role-playing moment ever in role-playing, was role-playing the guy that MITSUKAGE was holding on the floor. Just repeating everything Lloyd told me to repeat was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's the most samurai I've ever felt in my life, for sure.
Hanging out, watching you guys talk and introduce yourselves and basically recap last trilogy in conversation as Garu's asking, who are you and what are you doing here? What's happening? And just being able to sit and watch you guys do that was a very awesome experience. So thanks for letting me run this trilogy, guys.
Thank you for running it. Looking forward to the next two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too. Me too. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to be a better game master for this game. I will let people from my left to right just introduce themselves. These amazing players that I have the absolute honor and righteousness and sincerity and duty and loyalty and courtesy and courage and compassion to run this game for. Talk for a little bit more. So we'll start from my far left, Lloyd.
That was super fun. It's great. Really felt like L5R. We got lots of like nice classism in there, which is great. My favorite thing about this setting is that like samurai are certain of their superiority over everybody else. It's really interesting to me. There was some cool ninja stuff I got to do, which also felt great. I don't know. It was really nice. Oh yeah, I'm your LDM on YouTube. Like I don't know. I have a YouTube channel where you can watch me run Viking games if you want.
Taylor, killing. Next up is Jeremy.
Everybody, I am Jeremy. I have the YouTube channel, the Erasmus Expeditions. I play a lot of live plays and have videos where I talk about RPGs and do some crafting and things of that nature. I'm also 1/3 of the Dudes of Yore podcast with my friends Jeff Doty and Chad Nick, also on YouTube. Check us out. Yeah, man, I'm super excited to get back to this. I think it's been about a month, give or take, since we played. In the first trilogy was a lot of fun playing under Matt, and I was brand new to the system, and I'm sure that still is very apparent, but I love it. It's a very, very evocative system that incorporates the die rolls in a really interesting way. So I'm having a lot of fun, still kind of trying to figure it out, but also playing a samurai or a ninja, depending on the time of the night. So I had a blast. Thank you, Barker.
Sure, man. Thanks. That was a lot of fun. Matt, you're next.
Hey, everyone. I'm Matt. I run a channel called A Fistful of Dice, where I run D&D games. We actually have a Provokers game coming up on February 20th, which I'm really excited about. This is a blast. It was a really interesting experience to go from being the GM of these characters to being one of the characters. That's like something I never experienced before, and it was like really cool and kind of interesting. So, yeah, and GARU is like completely different than I thought he was going to be, just because like I always imagined him like on a boat and like being in command and like being a captain, and all of a sudden he's like on land and like completely out of his element. And so it's just been really interesting to sort of get to know him in a different sort of setting. So yeah, thanks everyone. And thank you, Barker, for running this game. This was an absolute blast.
It was awesome having SUBBON no GARU in the game, and I totally see what you mean, where it's like, listen, you never really know until someone hits action and you're in the game. And I loved how GARU and MITSUKAGE both went in the same direction, because it was kind of like yeah, there's just a lot to that, and I'm excited to explore it. Taylor.
I'm Taylor, and like Derby, just very new to the system, and I'm sure it's really obvious, especially when I have to figure out how to cast a spell, because I decided to play a magic class, and it's a lot of fun, but way more complicated. That's really fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to get back to it. I also have a channel. Crap, what's my channel called? I don't remember right now, apparently. Mom's the Nerd. There we go. I might need a little more sleep because I'm a mom. In case the title didn't tip you off, I got a 4-year-old at home. Yeah, I like D&D, and I now really like L5R. But most of the time I spend actually on Lloyd's channel. I play a lot of Vikings.
And I am Barker, and this is Pebble, the hairless kitty that just invaded this room and is fucking clawing my shit all up. Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us, and I'm gonna stop the broadcast here, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and talk to y'all later. Double tap peace or whatnot.